Hello there, everybody. How are we doing today? Let me know how my audio sounds there in the chat. If assuming everything is working and I have gone live, I'm at a new setup here. So if it doesn't sound good, definitely let me know. I'll try to figure something out. But as you can see, we are here to talk some A Song of Ice and Fire. And oh, look who just got here. We actually have a guest today.
Me?
Hello, it's
Hi.
Taco. Somewhat
Hello.
unplanned, as this
Yeah.
whole live stream was unplanned, but
Unplanned.
yeah, it was an unplanned live stream, and then Taco's just like, hey, you want a guest? I was like, sure, why not?
Yeah.
So here we are to chat some A Song of Ice and Fire. Now, for those of you who check the descriptions of the videos, you can see that this live stream is brought to you by my second channel, Cowboy Town, where I do random cowboy shenanigans. And guess what? It will have content coming tomorrow. So for those of you who are looking for some cowboy shenanigans, specifically, maybe those of you who enjoy unhinged country music might enjoy checking out the Cowboy Town channel and just keeping an eye on what happens tomorrow. But that's, just a quick little announcement I want to make at the very beginning here. But I would have made this three-eyed raven a taco had I known Taco was going to be here. But
Sorry.
I guess you're the bird today, Taco. How you doing?
I do want corn, and I also foreshadow ominous things, much like three-eyed crows.
Yeah.
I do have to say I don't like country music, but I do like things that are relatively unhinged. So I have some of the music you sent me.
there's a little something for everybody, right? You know what I mean? If you don't like country music, send it to someone who does like country music. And if you like funny things or want to see something that I have written, well, tomorrow you will get to do that.
Yeah.
So that's not what we're really here to talk about, though. What we're here to talk about is what you're all subscribed for, which is some A Song of Ice and Fire. And both me and Taco have recently put out videos talking about the Whispers, which I don't know, Taco, if you have this happen, but I always will have this happen where, like, the morning after I put out a video, like, pretty much no matter how long I spend on a video, the morning after, like, when I rewatch it just to make sure I didn't screw anything up, I pretty much always think of something I should have said, something I should have brought up.
Absolutely. I have one specifically for my Whispers video, and I think I even told you. So I had the same thing because I brought up, do you guys know A Song of Ice and Fire lore in your chat? They know that your chat knows this stuff? I brought up Clarence Crabb's Woods Witch bringing the heads back to life, but I didn't specifically bring up the kiss. Like that she kisses them, which is super important. And I was like, I felt so stupid about that. And then you made like a really big push on that on yours where you're like, oh, and it relates to Barrick doing it. I was like, this is why I sent people to your video to like get the rest of the symbolism. Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, so the thing that I instantly the next day, like, I was like, I should have brought this up is so basically the big question at the Whispers, right, is it the weirwood or the gods or the old gods whispering?
Yes.
Or is it the wind and the waves crashing against the sea and pushing wind through the caves, right? And honestly, in this universe, I'm not entirely sure that it even matters because of the lines that I have on the screen here. So this is where the second one, the bottom one there, is where they're talking about the waves and the holes in the cliffs pushing the wind, right? Mm-hmm. But straight up, the wind is the way that the gods communicate in this universe. These natural sounds that could be ignored, but also sometimes whisper little important information. That's established in book 1. Bran's listening to the wind, the leaves are rustling, and Osha tells him that it's the gods speaking to him. And he's like, what are you talking about? It's just the wind. And she's like, well, who do you think sends the wind if not the gods? And, in House of the Dragon, we see the wind literally whisper traitor. Like, I should have brought this up, that, like, it's pretty obvious that the wind is the way that the gods speak in this universe. The waves and the wind in the cave feels like that definitely qualifies. So, like, It feels like the whispering is very much in line with all these other situations. And like in Dance, we also see Theon be whispered to by the trees. So like this is a very common thing, right?
I can't believe I've never made that connection either. And it's not only in the first book, but it's in one of the most important setups for the old gods. Because if I believe besides just a little bit that we get, probably, I'm just throwing this out there, I'm sure Old Nan said something old godsy at one point, but like it's the first time a actual follower of the old gods from Beyond the Wall like just straight up and's like, hey, this is what our religion is. So it's rather important. And like we constantly like throughout that chapter or not, but yeah, it's not, sorry, I said that sentence wrong, but we're questioning, oh, it's whispering. And she's like, no, it's the sounds of the wind, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, okay, it's whispering though, nimble dick. And no, it's both. It's literally, if we follow the old gods, which I'm not, I'm an atheist, but if we were to follow the old gods, it would probably be them communicating somehow the wind through the trees, especially through the wind is being filtered through a god. Also, like through the weirwood.
Right. Yeah, so that's the first thing I wanted to bring up for those of you. I'm assuming many of you in chat have seen my most recent video about the whispers. It's one of those things where like the day after I put it on, I'm like, I should have put that in the video. And then the other thing that I should have put in the video is a question that I have gotten many times from this guy. If this guy is in chat, he made this comment, and I was going to bring this up. I promised I was going to bring this up in the live stream anyway. But he literally made this comment as I was preparing for the live stream, which is why you can see the 5 minutes ago on the screenshot there.
So good.
This guy has asked me about this many, many times. And I know I'm not annoyed with you for mentioning it again because it's a good point. Arya hears a voice that is pretty much, it's not her voice. She hears a voice that saves her life when she's escaping King's Landing. So this is when she's like in the stables hiding after Ned has been executed or imprisoned or whatever. When Arya's escaping King's Landing.
Yeah.
I don't exactly remember on the timeline exactly when this happens, but as you can see on the quote on the screen here, she had to leave, but she was too frightened to move. Calm as still water, a small voice whispered in her ear. Arya was so startled she almost dropped her bundle. She looked around wildly, but there was no one in the stable but her, and the horses and the dead men. Quiet as a shadow, she heard. Was it her own voice or Sirio's? She could not tell. Yet somehow it calmed her fears. And yeah, like, another very direct case of a voice that is not, or very heavily implied to be not her own voice in her head, saves Arya's life. And that also just lines up directly with everything that we were just talking about. So I should have brought this up in the Whispers video, and it was another one of those that hit me the next morning. I'm like, oh, that's a good one. And oh yeah, someone else I think brought this up in the comments of my Whispers video. Davos hears a voice telling him not to play Sudoku, and that is another situation. Like, there's all sorts of situations of people hearing voices in this. But
I just flipped my book on the other screen. I got two screens now moving on up in the world. I'm no longer on the laptop.
Nice.
I know.
Nice.
But yeah, I flipped it over to her page and I was reading over it. Now I have an example that I don't think is that. So I think it would be only fair to bring it up, like, you know, the idea of bringing up evidence only when it supports your already theory isn't correct, isn't the right way to do things, right? I was just rereading the Queenmaker chapter because of my which video am I doing? Whatever video. Myrcella Baratheon. I'm doing let's talk about the difference for Myrcella Baratheon. Or Lannister, however you want to say it. But when Arianne falls off her horse, she hears herself scream no, but she just says a girl screams no. And I wasn't sure if we're supposed to be reading that as like, oh, she's just a stupid girl and that's how she's telling, like, it's almost like shaming herself. Like, oh, this dumb person said, or if it's Myrcella screaming no. But now that, like, this just made me think of that because it's a voice. You know, like it's just stated a voice instead of something else. I don't know. And that definitely doesn't feel old godsy at all. It was just a thought I had because I literally just read that chapter like yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's interesting. I don't remember that specific line.
I can literally.
I was looking for it on a search of Ice and Fire. If you find the exact wording, I'll look that up. I'll read it out. But since Kirsty brought it up in chat, this is Taco from Something to Talk About.
That's me.
You want some more ASOIAF stuff? He's my minor character guy. When I don't know that much about every little minor character, but he does. So if I have a question, I go to him.
Yeah, like I literally just flipped over to my my A Feast for Crows page, and I'm literally right there. So at least on this PDF, it's page 339. Some girl was shouting. Never mind, I misremembered it. It's not a voice. It's some girl was shouting. Some foolish girl. Never mind. I shouldn't have brought it up. Shouldn't have brought it up. It was definitely her making fun of herself. No old god here.
Okay.
This is Dorne.
Yeah. Okay.
This is Dorne. Yeah. No old god.
Well, there's some interesting stuff though, because isn't the Ariane sample chapter is it a sample chapter of Ariane and Dorne where she finds like petrified looking pillars in a cave that have faces carved that look a lot like weirwood faces?
Is that the sample chapter? I think that's literally Queen.
Or is that in Queenmaker? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Is that okay? I couldn't remember.
Yeah, that's in Queenmaker.
The Ariane chapters are ones that I have not reread in a long time. So
I only did it for Myrcella Baratheon, which, by the way, that video is like 40 freaking minutes. I shouldn't have agreed to that. And it sucks because I've gotten so much into literally going through the chapter and almost like not actually copy pasting it, but not leaving anything out when those characters are up anymore. So my characters are getting bigger and bigger, like my videos are. But then I'm stupid enough to want to cover bigger characters. Mm-hmm. So back in the day when I was like, I'll throw in a line of like I'm trying to think of like, I'll throw in a set in here and there. You know, it's a bigger character. But now that I'm actually covering them with more detail, it's like 40-minute videos. Like, oh my god, what was I thinking?
I have become long-winded as well. I think I covered so many of the little things. Like when I was putting out a video a week, right? I would like make 3 videos to put out for 3 weeks while I spent a month working on a bigger, longer video. Yeah. And then I think I ran out of topics. So I'm like, okay, I can riff for 15 minutes and I have something to say about this small topic. Like I kind of eventually I hit a limit on that. I'm like, okay, I just need to take a break, focus on like my big videos. Because the other thing I kept doing for people who like look back at my content release schedule and notice like I went from once a week to like once a month for a minute there. The other thing I kept doing was like I would make these smaller videos, and in an effort to put out a video a week, I kept pushing back like bigger stuff like the others video, and I'm just like, I just have to work on this for like a month. But okay, question from chat: how much do you think Martin actually contributed to Elden Ring lore?
That's think a question for you. Yeah, because I think
roughly
Ring. That's definitely you.
So from what I've gathered, based on what George and the game makers have said, is he basically laid out all of the lore, right? So like in Elden Ring, there's all these ancient gods that are feuding and have interpersonal relationships, and they're all like, you know, there's one that's like super sad about being broken up with by the other, and all that stuff is like in the ancient past of the game. And it really just seems like he took a lot of the deep lore from the Age of Heroes, twisted certain things around, put new names on new people, but like I think he contributed a lot of the deep lore, and then they basically took that and were like, okay, we are going to build out this game world based on the lore that he's laid down, combining it with the lore of their series, right? Because like when you work on a video game, George is a smart guy and a good enough writer that he can be like, okay, I'm going to take all the things that I like to do, these feuding, like these relationship feuds, these, these personal relationships, these split consciousnesses, the person tied to a big magical world tree. I'm going to do all that in the context of the game world that you guys have built. Like, he's smart enough to write in a way that it matches up with their world building. So I think they talked probably through like, okay, here's the basics of what we wanted. Here is where you can just go crazy, George, do what you want. And I think he laid out like all of the ancient past stuff, and not necessarily like anything in the present day of the game as much. But like, I do think also they worked with George R.R. Martin for a reason. They wanted a very George R.R. Martin style game. And, you know, they were big fans of George. So I think they took, there are probably a lot of things that seem very George coded that they may have just added because they're like, okay, this is our game that we're working with George Martin on. We're going to carry through that George R.R. Martin spirit going forward. So that is roughly what I think George contributed to Elden Ring. Is a lot of the base ancient magical stuff seems like it's really a lot of him. And then they just riffed off of each other. He was riffing off of their stuff, then they were riffing off of his stuff. So it all becomes a big blended mess. But basically, that's what they've said. So that's kind of the stuff that I try to focus on when I do my Elden Ring relation theories. And just the reason I like looking at Elden Ring as well is because it is something that is fantasy that he was working on while he was in A Song of Ice and Fire mode, which there's not a lot of examples of, right? Because you can look at a lot of his old works and find cool connections, but like, this is the main thing he's written while he was making A Song of Ice and Fire and while he had been working on A Song of Ice and Fire for so long. So that's why I think there's so many good clues, or like so many similar things there. But yeah, speaking of video games, that was a very good segue there from chat, because this is the next thing I wanted to talk to you guys about. Just kind of casual chat, as I mentioned here. There's a new Game of Thrones real-time strategy game coming out.
Ooh.
Have you seen any of this, Taco?
No, I do like RTSs. If it's like classic RTS, I'm down.
Yeah. Did you ever play Age of Mythology?
Yeah, absolutely. I play Age of Empires 2 like not like I still play it. It's like one of the only games I play.
One of the slides here is just entirely me bragging about my successful Titan campaign, having beaten the AOM Retold campaign on Titan. When House of the Dragon ended, Age of Mythology Retold was coming out, and I went back and beat the old AOM campaign on Titan because I never managed to do that as a kid. And then when the new one came out, I played a lot of AOM Retold. So I'm actually like, at first I was like, okay, it's kind of weird to make an RTS for Game of Thrones, but then the thought that I had was like, this is kind of the one way I might be interested in like a campaign type of thing that is like from the story, right? Like, I don't want to play a game where I'm a character in Rob's army during the War of the Five Kings, right? But if there's a campaign where you can like reenact certain wars and certain battles or whatever, like there's some cool things that they could do with a RTS campaign set in Westeros that I actually think like this game might be pretty decent.
I completely agree. I feel like like covering a character is one thing that's really hard. Like Telltale Games was as successful as it could be, but like these characters are so amazing because they're not us, because they are so real, and because they frustrate us and so on and so forth, because George is just so good at creating characters that it's weird to like, what are you gonna do? Like Shadows of Mordor, like there's just some random new powerful guy who's running around. Like that would be really, I mean, I don't know, it would probably still be worth playing, but like an RTS makes a lot of sense because you don't have to change anybody. Stannis can be Stannis,
right?
You're just controlling. And it's and then you can make all their word bubbles and everyone who talks sound like them and throw in Easter eggs. And if it's good, and I'm a stickler when it comes to video games. If it's a good video game, I'm down, man.
And like the Age of Mythology campaign involves like all sorts of shenanigans. It's got like part of it that's the Trojan War. You're traveling all over the world fighting these battles. So like, I think that an RTS of A Song of Ice and Fire could be pretty darn good.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I do like what you brought up, Taco, of the nemesis system though in Shadow of Mordor or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That would actually go pretty hard in a Song of Ice and Fire game. Like if you're just a hedge knight fighting bandits, right? Because like even if
you're a hedge knight, yeah, I think you can do it right.
Yeah,
but like my idea was like, God, what I'm trying to think of an example of like, during the time that you do know, there was actually an all-powerful guy over here, and now you're playing that guy. Like that kind of stuff's super lame.
Yeah.
Because like,
you need like a sandboxy hedge knight thing, and like, basically like with the Whispers chapter we just talked about, Brienne kind of has the nemesis thing going on. She meets these guys, they say terrible things to her and threaten to do terrible things to her. Then later she meets up with them again, and they're even bigger assholes to her, and then she kills them. Like that's the nemesis system, right?
Yeah, and I tend to do this thing where I go. I'm curious if you do the same thing, but when I go over chapters and I'm like, wow, this chapter's way better than I remember. It's probably one of my favorites. And then the next time I read a different chapter, I'm like, this chapter's way better. It's probably, and it turns out the whole damn book's good. Right, it's actually just really well written. I think the Whispers chapter is actually that damn good. Like going through that chapter's so stupid good, and it's not only the old godsy symbolism. And I brought up on my my Satin video. I'm gonna just keep plugging. I'm gonna keep plugging myself over here. What do you think? But not my, why did I say Satin? My Shagwell video of how symbolic her murder of Shagwell is. It has nothing to do with old gods, but it's her overcoming all the horrible, toxic, I don't want to say toxic masculinity because it's way past that, but the misogyny and the sexual assaults that Shagwell's famous for. Like it's just straight up, if you read his bio, he's like, as an R-wordist. Like it's just like, so is like how I play football. But killing him in a way where she's stabbing his bowels and just said like a little bit before, like, oh, I make people laugh. And it's like, you make women cry. It's like, well, they don't find this funny. They don't find being tortured funny. So she's stabbing him in his bowels, yelling, laugh. And it's like, how stupid symbolic is that? Of like her killing one of the most nasty males in a rather symbolic stabbing bowel way, screaming that he would scream it like, and it's like, it's almost like her finally conquering, that aspect of men. And now she can move forth and not think all men are like that, because that's something that, Brienne definitely thinks all men are mocking her. All men are horrible, because that's just all the experience she had with them, except for Renly and a couple other people. But like now she can actually probably move on and actually have a real relationship, because she's like killed that. I don't know. It's how I take out of it. I just freaking love that chapter.
Yeah, and I know exactly what you're saying with like the first time I read Brienne's Feast for Crows arc, I think like a lot of people, I wanted to know what happens next in the bigger plot of the story. So her traveling around asking about a maid of 3 and 10 with auburn hair for 7 chapters or whatever is not
the whole time. We know her mission's fruitless. So it's like, well, where's this going? We know she can't find them.
Yep. And what I didn't bring up, because it would have taken like another 10-minute tangent into my Whispers videos, I was like, there's so much good character stuff going on here with Brienne that I almost like dedicated part of my video to, besides just talking the magic stuff, because like in the chapter before that, or a couple chapters before that, she's talking to Randall Tarley, who's telling her like,
shut up and go home.
Yeah, shut up, go home. You're a girl. You shouldn't be out here trying to do this. And anything that happens to you out there, I will not punish people because it will be your fault. Like, it's just like,
and literally says she could use a good sexual assault. Like it would help her. Like what the actual fuck?
So like there's so much of that like Westerosi toxic masculinity, like which as you said goes beyond. And it coming from Randall Tarley in the chapters right before. And it's like there's so much of that character growth going on in Brienne, and it's just like, oh, the first time you're reading it, you think it's about finding the maid of 3 and 10 with auburn hair, and she's not gonna. But then when you go back, you're like, oh wait, no, this is about her finding her place in this world, like. And she deals with thinking back to Randall Tarley, like he's the one who on some level or another saved her from the game that they were playing with her, trying to sleep with her. And for those of you who don't know, there is, when she joined Renly's camp, many of the men basically all put in a gold dragon into a pot, and whoever was going to be the first to sleep with Brienne got to keep the gold. And Randall Tarley found out about this, and he realized, like, oh shoot, this gold pot, this pile of gold is getting so big, someone's gonna do something forcefully here. I'm gonna put a stop to this. And then he tells Brienne that and blames her for it. It's like, so like even the one guy who will put a stop to this is just like, actually though, this is entirely your fault, and go home.
Well, he doesn't put a stop to it for her sake. He does it because it's distracting the men. He's so
exactly.
I hate him.
It's all awful.
I want to answer
Chrissy's
question. Nick already did. So going up the top of my head, we're going. Dany was born towards the end of, if you follow, all right, I know Dany's page of lies, and can we actually believe anything about her birth? David Lightbringer's not here to say anything. No, that's Preston Jacobs. Preston Jacobs isn't here to fight that. But if we actually take that, or her birth at face value, it was towards the end of the war when they already won. Stannis is breaking the siege. Stannis was already off, so she would have been born. And then if you want to believe Rob's birth is at the Tower of Joy, she would have been born probably a month or two after Jon. I said Rob, Jon. And then a couple months after, or Jon would have been a couple months after Rob, or around the same time. Right? No. Probably around the same time. Do we know he's not, Ned's not back when Rob's born. He leaves knocking Catelyn up and comes back to a baby. So
I think so,
I'd say within a couple months, Rob, Dany, and Jon are all
so I think
within the same year almost, right?
I think
I'm gonna
George
look at
has said
Wiki says.
Yeah, you can look it up. I think George has said Dany is roughly 9 months older than Jon. Which is interesting. I thought he said older.
Okay.
But I could be wrong on that.
127 is her, I think.
Then there was also a draft where I'm pretty sure it said that Jon was older than Rob, which got removed because it would give away too much about R+L, I think. Or there's something, the way it was phrased made it more obvious that the timeline doesn't quite line up. Like, how did Ned knock someone up at war and then come back with a baby if he knocked Catelyn up before he left for the war, and now the baby?
Well, it was in the middle of the war. So they take a break in the middle of the war to do the double marriage.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, so that's right.
The double marriage is when everybody gets together, essentially.
Yes.
Because John Aaron goes and has to quell a bunch of rebellions. Ned has to go call the banners. Sleeps with the fisherman's daughter, and that's the real Jon Snow, right? Jon Snow's mom.
Yeah.
And then Robert Baratheon does all the battles of Summerhall, right? And then they meet up at the Battle of the Bells in Stone Sept, and they pretty much save Robert at the Battle of the Bells. And then so I would say Dany would be younger. Because she was born after the Tower of Joy. And going with Jon's birth if going with R+L equals J, he would have been born at the Tower of Joy or before Ned gets there. So it's like the sack of King's Landing, and then around the same time, Stannis would be breaking that siege, and Ned will be going to the Tower of Joy. So roughly,
I might have had that reversed. All I for sure remember was that he said there was 9 months in between them, which made people suspicious of like, oh, could they both have been Lyanna's kid? Because 9 months is the same length of a pregnancy, assuming you don't think about that you really probably shouldn't pump out 2 kids in 9 months. That seems like a bad idea, but
no, not at all.
You know, there were many bad ideas at the Tower of Joy, many bad ideas with Rhaegar and Lyanna, so that wouldn't necessarily be surprising.
So according to the wiki, and do what you want with that. I mean, I'm usually rather trusting of the wiki because there you go. George said that Jon is
someone knew
older
it,
than Dany. Perfect. I love FRNT.
I believe that I knew it was one way or the other.
And here it said Robb was born in 283 and Dany was born in 284. So Dany would be younger than both.
Okay, yeah, that tracks. Yeah. That's probably how it was. Jon is 9 months older than Dany.
Yeah.
And then in a rough draft, I'm pretty sure he was older than Robb, which got removed. So now it's ambiguous in the actual story.
It is very ambiguous. Born in the same year. They were born in the same year.
This is the thing that I'm pretty sure is said to be the case, but I don't know how that works out timeline wise.
No,
but
it can work out. If it takes 9 months, you could say Robert's Rebellion happens in 9 months. Oh no, not Brandon Stark. No, that is incorrect. That's incorrect. It's Carlton Chestild, and that's during the war.
Okay, it's a different burning. War. I knew it was after a burning.
That's burning the hand, Carlton Chestild. Okay. And then so that's towards the end of the war. So hands. Okay. Yeah, I can do Handalore really quick. Merryweather, I want to say Owen Merryweather booted to Essos because the war starts. And then John Connington booted to Essos because of Battle of the Bells. And then Carlton Chestild lit on fire because he's just defying Aerys. He's like, hey, we can't burn King's Landing. And he's like, I'll burn you, Aerys, right? And then Rosart, what was a fortnight. So it would have been hey, now we have a timeline. We have a perfect timeline. Dany was conceived a fortnight before the sack of King's Landing. So that means that there was 9 months-ish, 8.5 months, 8 months from the sack of King's Landing to Stannis breaking the siege, which makes a lot of sense because he has to gather everything and he's still at Storm's End, right? And like, you can't really go from starving to being the naval commander in a week. Like, it's gonna take a minute. So yeah, that was my autistic moment. How was that? I feel like I did pretty good there.
That was good. Yeah, no, that's good. I have not looked at the timeline of Robert's Rebellion in a minute. I
needed a mostly succession, because and the hands were perfect. The hands are a perfect way for me to do it.
Yeah, there are parts of the book that I've dove into real deep lately and parts that I just haven't in a minute. Like several months ago, I hadn't looked at the Pink Letter in quite a while. And then I spent like a month just like looking at everything around the Pink Letter. And now I've got that fresh in my mind, but other parts are
I really drifting away. Deep dive into Pink Letter because because I'm still undecided. I'm somebody who's like, I haven't heard the right argument yet. And I think yours makes the most sense of Melisandre messing with him. And I don't need to rehash all your
we're chatting my recent theories here, so we might as well. That's what we're kind of talking about.
But yeah, the idea that why would I, as in me, think that Melisandre is in any way actually flirting or is interested in Jon? She's not. She's because I think in my brain she stops being a Team Stannis, and starts going Team Jon. But she doesn't. That's me projecting. That's me thinking that. There's no real evidence that she's going Team Jon. She's still just trying to make a shadow baby with him. She's trying to seduce him for Stannis, not for Jon, and not because she... Yeah, she wants his blood. Thank you.
And it works so darn well because, like, that is exactly how she handles Stannis' campaign. She doesn't want Stannis to lose a ton of men in a siege, and he's horribly set up for a siege. That's obvious. But what she does every time, like, Stannis marches up to a battle, is she shadow babies someone, and the battle doesn't happen. So it makes complete sense that Stannis would get outside of Winterfell, send back a letter to help piss off Jon at the Boltons. Well, she's been at the wall the entire time trying to seduce him and piss him off at the Boltons, and she's like straight up being like, hey, let me save your sister. We can make shadows. If we come together as man and woman, we can make shadows.
Yeah.
And she says that in the context of him being mad at Ramsay and trying to save Arya. So it's just like, yeah, she's probably, after the pink letter, had Jon not announced his whole plan and gotten stabbed, she would have probably been like, all right, I'm going to pitch you again now, and you're going to listen this time. Like,
I needed you to point out, he says, oh, I need to go see Melisandre. And so her plan works. And then, you know, Bowen Marsh has to be a crybaby and stab him.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I love and hate Bowen Marsh. I hate that, like, we have to then be sympathetic because he's crying as he's stabbing Jon. So it's like, you can tell that he doesn't want to do it. But it's like, but you just argue and you're such a stubborn jerk. Like, all of Jon chapters, I'm like, screw your cries, Bowen Marsh. Sorry for the random Bowen Marsh hate. Santa says, gung ho about ripping out Weirwoods. Jon ain't about that. Is Jon, I don't think Jon, I wouldn't say doesn't care. Like, he's definitely religious enough that he took his oath at a Weirwood tree, but that's the reason he
in his head, that's the reason he turns down Winterfell. But also, it's heavily, I think, implied that the actual reason he turns down Winterfell is somewhat because of some magical interference from Ghost. Like, he's thinking about it, and then he pets Ghost, and suddenly he's like, I can't rip out the Weirwood. It would be crazy.
Oh, and weird touching Ghost. He doesn't. He definitely isn't symbolic towards any character and or god and or character.
Right. It's not like he's been subtly influencing Jon to do things. Like, the one that I completely missed, I talked about this in my last live stream, but it just hits like a ton of bricks, is Ghost is silent. He can't make noise.
He's a literal mute. Yeah.
Yeah, and when Jon runs away in the first book, Jon is deserting. His friends are chasing him, and he hides from them, and he's going to get away with it. He's hiding in the woods. They're going to ride past. They're not going to find him. And Ghost, who had disappeared and was just off on his own, comes freaking rolling in and scares his horse and makes the horse make noise, because Ghost can't make noise himself. And then they hear the horse make noise, and they all find him and bring him back. And it's just like, oh, the old gods are forcing Jon onto his path.
I'm going to say it before the crowd does. You have freaking like 90 people in here right now. I can't see the number. I saw it on my phone. It's crazy. And we do them on we do these on my channel. So much more people see these. All right. But no, something like, before somebody else says this, I'm going to say it. Yes, Michael is a cowboy. I can't believe you yelled it. No.
I do work on a farm. I actually do. So if that, I don't ride a horse. I ride an ATV around all day, but I do work on a farm. So,
so
count that how you will.
Ghost literally looks like Bloodraven, even. Like, he's pale with red eyes. Like, he's not. And also, what else is the friggin' weird ones? Like, the fact that, like, that Jon doesn't catch that, where he's like, oh, you are an old god, aren't you? Like, like looking at Ghost, like, you're a pale ancient monster with glowing red eyes. I'm stupid for not getting that. I'm Jon Snow. I'll be here all week.
But also, we were talking about the wind earlier, and I think it's pretty heavily implied that the noise Jon heard wasn't actually Ghost, because Ghost is silent. The noise is the wind.
Yeah, the wind, which is the old god.
Yeah. So,
I mean, are all winds old gods? Maybe. I mean, the Ironborn think that the wind is God too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, if the wind exists, like, of course it's sent by the gods. All nature should be created by the gods. So, like, it only makes sense.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I love think about this. Like, we're talking about old gods like bringing the wind, and like what's his name? Victorian Greyjoy sacrifices people for favorable winds multiple times.
Yeah.
So does Euron. So sacrificing to a god, whichever one. I mean, I would think the drown gods. The drown god really just seems like the wet old god. Like he's so everything about drown gods. So much of it's so close to old gods.
I have a theory about that I'll get into in a minute. I first want to mention this. If it was future Bran, if it wasn't the wind, I think it's pretty heavily implied. Many times the wind could be future Bran. I don't know if there's even a difference.
Absolutely,
because Ned looks up when future Bran is talking to past Ned, and Bloodraven tells him he heard the wind rustling the leaves. And that's literally exactly what Osha says book 1 is, when the gods talk, you hear the wind rustling the leaves. And that's what Ned heard. So future Bran is the wind.
It's either, well, it could also be the other people like Bloodraven.
A Greenseer.
A Greenseer, like Clarence Crabbe. I still love that. I'm sticking to it. I'm sticking to Clarence Crabbe, the Greenseer. It
works. Like the idea that there's physically a Greenseer below the Whispers just does work really well.
I want to bring up something that's getting way out as Cindy not Cindy. I speak for the trees, the Lorax. I always think of the Lorax speaking for the trees every time I say Hizdar Lorak. I always call him the Lorak. He speaks for the trees. It's just like I can't get it out of my head. So I've like all of a sudden I actually like Hizdar Lorak more now that I think of him as the Lorax. It makes that character actually tolerable instead of just the friggin' worst.
So here's a theory that I've never I haven't made into a video yet, that maybe I'll make into a video one day, but like I don't know that I have enough evidence. It's just something that kind of makes sense to me. So the drowned god, as you said, is entirely old gods coded. The Ironborn culture is pretty old, or like the culture of the Ironborn.
Pretty much the only thing
old gods coded.
The only thing I can't find click is the watery halls, because we never hear anything in the old gods, unless I'm wrong, about an afterlife. The old gods, like no one in the north goes, then we're gonna feast with the old gods in the old halls. That's the only difference. All right, keep going.
So all right, I'll let you live react to this theory here then. What if, right? Because if the old gods, let's say the old gods are Greenseers who live down in the roots underground in the Weirwood roots.
I don't even think that's a leap. Keep going.
No. That's like establishing a baseline here. Yeah. The old gods are probably Greenseers who live down below Weirwoods in the roots. Something that I've thought about is, what if there was a Greenseer below the Black Gate? Well, we now know that there's water at partway down, and that may have become the case when the wall was built. You see where I'm going with this?
You're going with the thing that swallowed the thing. Is the drowned god?
Sort of. Well, if you have a Greenseer who has got eternal life and is down below a massively important magical ancient Weirwood, and then they build a wall by doing watery magic and flood the area below the Weirwood so it can suck up water through the roots and feed the wall, the Greenseer would be underwater. The roots are underwater. You have a drowned god.
It is a
who is in old ways drowned god. So I think my theory is roughly like, what if the Ironborn were the people who worshipped a god? Because like I kind of think like in the ancient old waysy like situation, there would be different tribes of children of the forest, different tribes of first men who would worship a specific Greenseer at their hill.
Westeros,
like they would have their tree town.
Westeros is too big. Like, and even pre-wall Westeros is too big for the children of the forest to literally be all over it. Sparse in population. They're not one culture. They're not 10 cultures. They are probably hundreds of cultures. Yeah.
And I see a world where if you had a god who a tribe worshipped at the Night Fort, probably even maybe before it was the Night Fort, or maybe like when it was the first fort that was there, right?
Mhm.
Before the wall was built, you drive that tribe out.
Yeah.
If they move to the Iron Islands, but they're still worshiping and getting messages from their god, who is now underwater and drowned, that explains the drowned god's watery halls. He is in a water-filled cave. He is literally a drowned green seer.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's still communicating and sending his people messages. And
now,
yeah,
I'm gonna help this theory, right?
Yeah.
Those exist that's the Ironborn culture. Grey King or whatever he is, right? Homeboy shows up, in my opinion, from a different culture, maybe from the West. Stop me if I'm crazy. Brings in a completely different culture. All that Naga stuff, right? Killing the Naga, having the Naga jaws, Naga this, Naga that. And he kills, wait for it, a demon tree that eats people named Yig. Tell me if you've ever heard of a demon tree that eats people. Freaking weirwoods. That's not even that's just a weirwood. So we have a dude who comes and tries to kill the current old god culture. And if we've learned anything from reality, that when you try to bring a religion to a new place, whether you want to or not, their old pagan traditions slowly move in, and next thing you know, your prophet was born on Yuletide. You know, like I'm sorry, I'm not trying to talk crap, but I'm just saying religions mesh. They do. As much as we don't want them to, they do. And I would think wherever the Grey King came from, or just a dude who calls himself Grey King, whatever. I don't think that he was 1,000 years old or whatever, but wherever the Grey King came from brought his culture, and that's where the watery halls maybe came from, because that pushes the pillaging culture that he brings. The raiding culture is propped up by the idea of if we do raiding good, we get to feast in the watery halls, which isn't an old god thing. So maybe a lot of that stuff comes from where the Grey King's religion or culture comes from, and that meshes with old gods. And that's where you get this really cool mixture that is, I mean, I love the Iron Islands drowned god religion. I love it. And there is no priests of drowned of old gods at all, but there's priests for the drowned god. So I do think that you're right, but it got a little bit of somebody mixed some chocolate in with it, with the peanut butter of the old gods, and now we got the Reese's of Ironborn. I'm going on break.
That makes sense to me. Yeah. And the way that I was thinking about explaining that, because the main sort of thing, right? Assume that it's true. Like the Ironborn started as an old ways culture that worshipped a very powerful green seer, maybe below the Weirwood at the Night Fort or somewhere along the wall, who got drowned because they need a bunch of water down in those roots to make and replenish the wall. So he is now a drowned god. They got kicked out. Why are they killing a demon tree if they're Weirwood worshippers? That was the thing that was like sort of against this. But
it was homeboy shows up from somewhere else, kills the demon
tree. It could
be
that
in their two religions mix.
It could definitely be that. That makes a lot of sense. And the other solution that I had was what I kind of explained before, of if all of these different old ways cultures weren't unified, your tree is the tree of the god. Every other tree is a demon tree. So like if you worship the drowned god and you get to an island that has a different tree, maybe you do kill that demon tree so you can still commune with your god uninterrupted by whatever demon god lives in the roots of that tree. So that was kind of my other thought, is like them describing a Weirwood as a demon tree doesn't necessarily mean that they're not Weirwood worshippers on some level.
D. Rockovich is just going nuts for your appearance. Yo, no, he was a redneck. Dude, I have this dude on streams like once a month, and I like this blew my mind a year ago. Like, yo.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All the trees are probably the same. I do agree. I think
like interconnected.
What it would be, I think they're interconnected, but what it would roughly be is that they worship a specific green seer, a specific dude tied to a tree. And like if there was ever a point at which green seers would occasionally fight, I do think that could explain it, but also what Taco's bringing up here is good. And I think David Lightbringer has a similar theory.
I definitely bit off of David Lightbringer a lot.
Yeah,
that wasn't my theory. I'm not a theory guy. I will not.
And his is along the lines of like, I think Great Empire of the Dawn mixed with Old Ways roughly, and like that also does track to me. That mixing of cultures does also explain what's going on there potentially. But yeah, so that was my like little sort of, what if the drowned god is literally a green seer who is now underwater under the wall? Like, yeah, that would explain why he's drowned. I kind of like that, but I don't know if there's enough evidence to like make it a full theory video. So you get it in a live stream chat. So there you go. Hello to everyone rolling in here.
I wasn't even thinking about sharing this to my channel, so I just did. So my
your audience can find
it. who aren't already subscribed to you. I mean, I already recognize that, but like a lot of your chat. Although I don't like David Lightbringer getting a credit for your face reveal. I did it months before, just on a very small channel.
Oh yeah, Taco was actually the first channel I went on with my face. The first time I was on his thing, I didn't show my face because I was set up in a place that would have like doxed my whole family. And then the next time I pop on with my camera, he's like, I can see you, right? I'm like, yeah, we're good.
Yeah, dude, I was like, you don't want to. Are you doing that? Are you going out? You're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay. I think I was watching True Detective season 1 when it came out, and I thought immediately you looked like Matthew McConaughey from that. But your mustache has blossomed since then. Your mustache is not it's way more hardcore than it used to be.
Yeah.
It's literally under Naga.
Yeah, I mean,
it
could be either one.
So much of Naga, at least Naga's bones, because we do see Naga's bones, are weirwoods, like are 100% weirwoods. I think his throne was a weirwood throne. Naga's jaws that the Grey King sat on, because remember the Grey King doesn't sit on the sea stone chair. Yeah, let's go with what Florian the Fool is saying.
Oh, no, I was just throwing stuff out there. A good comment. If you were saying, if you had a point to make, go ahead and make it.
No, I would just, the point I was trying to make is I think that so much of Naga, especially when you read the description of Naga's ribs, that they're just very weirwoody. They sound like weirwoods, right? So I do think that would make the crown that he used to wear that was made out of Naga, and then his whole throne that he sat on, that was Naga's jaws, which there's like really cool art of that, is a weirwood throne. That it's so either Naga was also either a giant weirwood, or we don't know where that story came up. I literally, when it comes to Grey King, I don't believe any of the Naga shit. I think that's just something cool, and that they're mixing it up with the Yeeg thing. I do think that David Lightbringer and Mira Reeds both put out videos on this, and I think they both got it exactly right. That Naga's bones are the frame of a ship. They built the frame out of weirwood, and what Vikings do, or did, I guess I should say, rip all the Vikings who raid and take over a place and then turn their ship upside down to build their longhouse. Like, that's what they would do. Once you decide you're not going anywhere with your ship, you need a shelter. It's cold out. You flip it over. Now it's a big cabin, and you live in it. And if you live in it until it deteriorates, you get Naga's ribs. That's the companions hall in Skyrim, is a ship flipped over that they came from the northern island in Elder Scrolls. Sorry, I'm spilling some Elder Scrolls lore in, but absolutely. And that ship is Weirwood. And I think I am getting that from Mira Reed. So much of my, if I sound smart, it's because I learned it from smarter people. I'm the lore guy, not the theory guy.
Okay, so Euron. I have another Euron theory that I have also been like.
I'm gonna step away for like 1 minute and just grab something to drink.
Yeah.
Dry. I'll be right back.
Yeah, sounds good. So well, okay, I'll talk about my Euron theory when Taco comes back. Chat, give me a 1 to 10. Chat, what is your hype level at seeing that George R.R. Martin has scheduled 4 conventions? This shout out to Quinn the GM because I saw this earlier today when he posted this. I only knew about New York Comic Con, and apparently it was announced George is going to Worldcon, Bubonicon, New York Comic Con, and Iceland Noir. That it doesn't not sound like a mini start to a book tour. But yeah, 0 is probably the place to keep your hype levels if you don't want to be disappointed. I'm not personally like at a 9 or a 10 yet, but I do always get the question. I do always get the question since I put out my video of like why I think Wins is coming soon, like a year ago. I have firmly thought for a while now that we are one single good burst of writing away from Wins being done. And I believe genuinely that could come at any point. It's just a matter of whether or not it's happening. And yeah, I'm not hyping myself up too much over this, but I did want to chat about it because like in my video originally, I did say I thought 2025, like if you were going to make me bet on a year for a little while, like when I just looked ahead, I'm like, I think like 2025 is reasonable. Like, even if it's only like, you know, a 20% chance, then a 15% chance of another year. And then like, you know, assuming it's coming in the next 10 years, every year is about a 10% chance. So like a 20% chance in relativity is not that high, but like, I do think mid 2020s is roughly the amount of time George would take to do it if he did a major rewrite, which I think he did roughly around the time that the show passed him and he realized he was not going to, like, I think he tried to rush to get it done before the show passed him. And that led to a subpar product that when he got to the end, he wasn't necessarily happy with. And I think because I do this with videos where if I make a recording of a video, because I'm sure many of my viewers know, I don't really script my videos. I just talk until it sounds good. And then I'm like, okay, hit upload. So if I record a video, sometimes I'll record a video that's like half an hour and I'll listen back to it. And sometimes I'll be able to fix it. Sometimes I will not be. Sometimes I literally just have to re-record the whole dang thing. And I kind of think he might have had to rewrite most of Wins. And if it's taken him like 6-7 years to write each book, well, that was about 6 years after Dance came out. If he started major rewrites, about 6-7 years after that is the mid 2020s. So that's always been kind of my logic of like, could it be, oh, this is something I hadn't thought of that's actually makes
that's probably what
entirely too much sense.
Or first episode or like sneak preview.
Yeah, no, that is, to lower my hype levels, this is what I'm now going to believe. I'm now entirely
probably what it is. Yeah.
I'm now entirely expecting it's Dunkin' Egg promo, but I do still stand by like mid 2020s is a reasonable time for Wins if the major rewrite thing happened, which I kind of think it did. But yeah, so that's what I was talking about there, Taco, while you were gone, is just this whole like little slate of Comic Cons that George is going to. But like, I don't know. I do actually believe one day we will get Wins.
Seattle World Con.
So when we do, I think it may look something kind of like this, and then it will be announced. I don't know though. But yeah, I'm not getting myself too hyped up.
You want my highest, thickest dose of copium that I ever had? He already wrote it. He wanted to surprise. He just wants just hear me out. He wants to surprise us. So he's getting Dream of Spring almost done, so he can drop them a year, boom, boom, like a year apart. It's done.
I wish I could believe it. Yeah, I wish. I wish I was still that sweet summer child.
Overdose of copium.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I think this is a good analogy for how George writes, especially, right? Because all the threads have to tie together or the book doesn't work. Like, especially if this is the book that needs to set up the last book, it needs to all tie together. Like, if he's trying to bring the story together right now,
there's a lot of fun theories on how he would do that. Like, was it Quinn the GM I'm trying to remember who first put forth the, like, he's just going to kill half the POVs in the first act. So it makes it so much easier because he got too big in Dance and Feast. So he has to just purge. And almost every character is getting into a battle in their first or second chapters, right? So like you could do some character purging. And
I do. And this is something that I haven't talked about, I don't think, but what do you think of this? I also think that besides just straight up killing people, it would not be like unreasonable if Arya Hota doesn't die, but just doesn't have a POV chapter after the things he needs to see are done, right? Like these newly added POVs don't need to keep being POVs until they all die. They only need to be POVs until they're part of
or they take a break. Because there's no POV that you can pitch to me right now, plus the story's not over. There's no POV that you can pitch to me that he just stopped covering. But Theon did a 3-book break. You know, Theon's was in Clash. Yeah, for real. Perfectionism is a bitch.
Yeah, I think that's a large part of it.
His last chapter was in freaking Clash. In the Reek ones in Dance.
Yep.
You know how much shit happened in between that? And then even look at you can look at a lot of characters who even like, and I know Feast and Dance go at the same time, but like between the taking of the shields and then Victorion's God, I'm trying to remember the name of it. What is it? The Iron Reaver? Yeah, the one that's like a whole book apart too. Like he takes breaks from his characters, and I definitely think that maybe he won't completely dump Arya Hota. You know, we probably won't see him for a book, and then he's gonna show up to either die or to do something else. Like, you know, I don't think he fully dumps him. Iron Suitor, thank you. It's Iron Suitor. Yeah. Another chapter I just did. Thank you, William Cross. Because I just did my what video did I cover? Oh, my Talbot Seri that comes out on Saturday. By the way, another one where it's like you read a chapter and you're like, this chapter's way better than I remember. This is one of the best. Yeah. Iron Reaver when he fights Talbot Seri. And people who give Talbot Seri crap for not being a good fighter, you guys are wrong. Anyways, or Victorian. Anyways, I like that chapter a lot. But I would love to talk about this.
Okay, so I don't know, Taco, if you've seen it, but Wizard Kissing Company is a channel, a small ASOIAF channel that I like. They put out a good video on Lady Stoneheart that I think it's the theory that I also agree with the most.
Dude, no, I don't know this channel at all. I will definitely give it.
I shared one of their videos once. They do good work. They I like small. They have funny chats about ASOIAF as a group and put funny memes over it, which is stuff that I enjoy.
I mean, as a smallest Song of Ice and Fire channel, I like smallest Song of Ice and Fire channels. So
they do good work. Wizard Kissing Company is the name, and they put out a video basically explaining their logic for why it makes a lot of sense for Brienne to have to kill Lady Stoneheart, who, like her and Jaime, right? They're walking up there, and it mirrors Jaime having to kill the Mad King, and so, the most reasonable place that I think Stoneheart's arc could go, because she's dealing with Jaime and Brienne, and it is kind of, it so nicely parallels Jaime having to kill the Mad King, and now Brienne has to put Stoneheart out of her misery with her magic sword. It tracks to me that Brienne kills Lady Stoneheart, and it also tracks to me because as I've talked about in recent videos, I kind of think that the main point of Stoneheart is to foreshadow potentially how the Corpse Queen could turn into this merciless mother of these others, or these shadows who just hate humanity. Like, if you assume Catelyn Stark, like if you put Lady Stoneheart in the position of, instead of being married to Ned Stark, who was a Stark who was defeated in battle by people to the south, and then she goes on her campaign of revenge. Well, if you had the Corpse Queen, who was married to the Night's King, who was killed or defeated by people from the south, and then you just let her sit north of the wall for 10,000 years, how pissed off would Stoneheart be? How magically powerful would Stoneheart be? Like, if you have a 10,000-year-old Stoneheart, if you have this 10,000-year-old woman who is hell-bent on revenge and raised from the dead via magic and is this Corpse Queen, that comes completely out of left field, and a lot of people will be like, what the hell is this? But now, we've watched Catelyn Stark turn into that thing. And now if that's introduced to the story, we're all going to go, oh my god, it's 10,000-year-old Stoneheart. That's terrifying. So, her getting killed by Brienne is fine because she's served her purpose in the story. She has foreshadowed this potential other mother who hates all of humanity and wants to destroy all of humanity, and now we'll be able to kind of walk step by step into how she got there. I think that's kind of what's up with Stoneheart.
There's so more important things with Stoneheart that you don't need a grand theory to appreciate. Like she's so interesting on her own as well, on top of all that. But then you have her being completely her last thoughts right before she died has completely taken over her, and she's become this vengeance monster. And the comparing Lady Stoneheart to Catelyn, of this loving, forgiving, always trying to say, no, let's not do the war thing. Like, she's constantly like, how many times does she tell Rickard Karstark vengeance won't bring them back? She says that, like, that's like her catchphrase, right? Like, we don't need vengeance. Killing people doesn't get you anything. And then she dies in a horrific way, gets brought back, and then she's like, murder all of them. Like, and she completely flips. And that's so freaking interesting. Like, I love that. And it's like,
it's
don't
so
you
good.
love how in the show when they brought Jon Snow back, like he was completely different? Sorry, being an asshole.
But I did tease earlier. I have a little Euron theory that I don't know how I feel about it. I like it in a way, but there are problems with it. So when we're introduced to Euron, he talks about how he can fly. Did Taco freeze? Oh no, you're back. Okay.
Did I freeze?
I don't know.
I was just reading. I'm just like
You might have just been reading. I couldn't tell. I was like, oh, wait a minute.
I'm sorry.
No. But okay. So Euron, when he's introduced, and this is building off of a Company of the Cat theory, to shout out another channel. Company of the Cat put out a video that I think hits the nail perfectly on the head with Euron. I believe the theory that she puts out that Euron is seeing visions of Jon Snow and thinks that it's him. He thinks he's going to be this magically powerful end times hero, and some of the things that he's been doing are in service of him thinking he's going to be the guy, but he's not. He's possibly being shown these visions to manipulate him. Mm-hmm. And I think he's also potentially seeing some visions of Bran and thinking it's going to be him. And people talk about that obviously because in the beginning, he talks about how he had a dream that he could fly, but he couldn't. And the Maester said it was a lie.
That's in the Forsaken chapter, right?
Is it in the Forsaken, or
I
want to
say that's Forsaken.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Which technically not canon, but I'm not going to be that asshole. It's one of the best chapters that George has ever written in his life, and it's not even published yet.
Yeah.
I want to say that's Forsaken.
Okay.
Because
I can't remember when he said
it's like the one time he has a sit down conversation with somebody, and it's Aaron Damphair. It's in Reaver. I'm way wrong.
I was gonna say I thought it was early in his arc.
All right, let me look. Reaver's in Feast.
Yeah, so if you want to find that, because I was gonna look for it, but if you want to find that, but I thought it was early.
A keyword here. Euron. No, that's not gonna help.
Yeah, and this is a good point by Nick as well. Yeah, it does seem like a lot of Targaryens may have been given visions of Dany hatching dragons and thought it was them.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, okay, so let's imagine you have the ability to show people visions of the future, but you also need to manipulate those people. Well, then what a wonderful way to manipulate them. And thank you very much for the super chat there.
Tryon Gosling.
That is awesome.
That's the best
awesome
name,
and
dude.
An awesome name.
Tryon Gosling.
That is great.
Did you try him? How was it? It looks amazing. No, man,
thank you very much for that.
If there's any goat thing happening right now, it's Tryon Gosling doing that. He's definitely the goat.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Right.
But okay, so
I was gonna toss in. I want to say it was Indie Geek. Yes, someone also is bringing up, but I think it was either Indie Geek and also Preston Jacobs. But when Bran sees all of the Green Seers, when he's learning how to fly in Game of Thrones, and he looks down and there's other people on the rocks. Those are the failed ones, right? And that Euron has a story where he is trying to fly. That Bloodraven either reached for him and is like, "Hey, man, are you gonna be my Bran?" And then he's like, "Oh wait, you're the fucking worst." And then the Bloodraven doesn't. Or of course, there's he did, and he is working in Euron's the graduated Bran, and Bloodraven is that fucked up. So there's the two different, like, maybe Bloodraven is working with Euron. But yeah, I wanted to throw that in also with the what's going on with Euron talk. Is I really love the failed Bran for Euron.
Yeah. My take on it is I think that Bloodraven is manipulating and guiding Euron into doing certain things that he needs done that Bran ain't got the stomach for. If the wall needs to be brought down by blowing a magical bloody horn, Bran ain't going to bring the wall down and try to become a god. Euron would, though. So Euron can do all the evil shenanigans, while Bran maintains him being pure of heart. And, like, he can, do all of that shenanigans. But so Euron being manipulated more or less tracks with that really well, because if you could show someone visions of the future and you need to manipulate them into doing a certain thing, a really good way to do that would be to show them visions in a way that they think it's about them, but it's not actually. It's about someone else, and then by them thinking it's them, they will do the thing you need them to do. So, Euron is bad cop. I think I titled that video "Good Crow, Bad Crow," or maybe that was the Interesting Nerd Club's title for when I presented it to the Interesting Nerd Club.
I don't know,
but yeah, it's good cop, bad cop.
Like that.
And my theory on, mostly pure of heart. He's doing some very sketchy things, but like he is also like. He's not told he's eating Jojen's brains. They do that to him without him realizing. He's maintaining some level of his innocence.
Yeah, and also
he's done these unintentionally. Unintentionally, he is doing bad things, but he's not like trying to be evil. Whereas Euron is trying to be evil.
Wait. Warging into Hodor to the point that he sees a physical embodiment of Hodor's consciousness crawl to the back of the head. That's dark as fuck.
It is dark.
That's dark.
It is dark.
Again, he's a kid, so he's probably like, come on, I'm just hanging out. Like, don't worry about it.
He's a kid, and also Hodor he thinks, I think, less of Hodor because Hodor can't say things, but he doesn't realize that's his fault yet. Once he realizes that's his fault, I think it will hit him hard. It's because he's still kind of a good kid, right? It's not like he's going to see what he's done to Hodor and be like, ah, yes, I did good here. I think at some point it's going to hit him like, oh, maybe this wasn't great. I could be wrong. But so where I was going with that is generally, if Euron is being manipulated in this way, and this is something that I don't necessarily think I believe is going to happen, but I have been pondering, and I like it in a way, right? If Euron's like the thing he needs to do is something at Old Town, like maybe he needs to blow the horn that Sam has, and then the wall falls and whatever, and then his part in the plan is done or something.
Yeah,
it would be an incredibly funny way for Bloodraven or Bran to manipulate Euron if they showed him the vision of falling from the tower, and he thinks it's about him, and he thinks it's an important thing that he can fly. Because when he says, how do I know unless I leap from some tall tower? Well, now he's invading the place with the tallest tower in the world. What if Euron takes over Old Town, blows the freaking horn, and then jumps off of the high tower thinking he's going to fly and just freaking dies? Like, what if he just fucking is a dumb pirate like everybody else, but he's been manipulated into this magical shenanigans, and he thinks he's gonna fly, but really that's their way of just killing him off by manipulating him with visions. Like,
hilarious.
It would be really funny. I don't know, like, if it would be necessarily as satisfying as certain other things, but like, damn, would it be funny if Euron thinks he can fly, he takes over Old Town, he is like, okay, this is the vision. This is what I've been building towards. It's time for me to leap from the tall tower, and he does, and it just doesn't work, and he dies. That's the problem, is it's too easy an ending for such a cool evil character, and that's the main reason I don't like it.
Well, that's the main reason why I like it.
But it's like Quentin, right? It's like,
well, I was just gonna say,
like,
wouldn't it be crazy if Quentin Martell just like tries to claim a dragon, gets burned alive?
Yes,
and he's totally dead, absolutely dead. He's a dead guy now. His character's dead. Anyway,
yeah, it's exactly like that. But yeah, it would definitely make a lot of people mad. He could summon a Kraken, but let's be clear, he could summon the Kraken to take Old Town. He can still do a ton of dark magic shenanigans to take over Old Town. It's just like, what if once his dark shenanigans is done, it's like Arion drinking wildfire. This absolute D-bag gets misled by a vision or something and thinks he's going to take this magical power, but really he was fooled. Like, man, it would, if he mirrors the Quentin arc of just like tries to take the magical power and dies horribly, that would be really funny to me. But again, like, the theory has problems, but it is funny. But that was that.
I'm half trying to read the Reaver chapter to still find. Oh, I literally just found it.
Yeah, go for it.
So Euron turned to face him. Here, let me go up. Oh yeah. Crow's Eye had taken Lord Herod's bedchamber with his bastard daughter. I'm gonna skim as we entered. So Euron says, "When I was a boy, I dreamt I could fly." He announced. "When I woke, I couldn't." And the Maester said, or so the Maester said, but what if he lied? Victorion could smell the sea through the open window. So Victorion's like fucking paying attention. Through the room, and it stank of wine and blood and sex. The cold, salt air helped clear his head, and he said, "What do you mean?" Euron turned to face him, and with bruised blue, curled lips and a smile, said, "Perhaps we all can fly, all of us. How are we ever going to know unless we leap from a small tower?" So yeah, it's like literally exactly what you're saying. The wind came gusting through the window. Well, this said, tall tower. Yeah, you're reading it too. Yeah. My bad. I'm not a strong reader. I picked a really weird hobby. Yeah, there's something obscene and disturbing about his nakedness. Yeah, he's just hanging dong during this conversation.
Much like Ned in the first book, just as they read Lysa's letter.
Dude, I love that. He reads Lysa's letter. He they just bang, and then Maester's like, and he's like, "Yeah, Maester, come in here. She's just harvesting my seed." It's like, Jesus Christ, man.
Lewin's delivered her babies. He's seen
She hides herself, and she's like, "Wait, Lewin's delivered my kids." I love this. I totally thought he told Aaron Damphair this, but no, he tells Aaron way more hardcore crap. God, First Second's so fucking good. I love that chapter.
Yeah,
I'm cool to swear, right? I keep doing it.
Yeah, you're fine.
Cool.
The only live stream I've ever gotten demonetized was when I was playing backyard baseball, and I may or may not have subtly suggested that I was giving the children steroids in the juice boxes.
Oof.
And then they gave me the yellow monetization on that one, and then I didn't make that joke in my other backyard baseball streams, and I didn't get the yellow monetization.
That's good.
So I think it was the juice joke.
I didn't only get demonetized.
Got me.
I got an entire live stream just blinked out of existence when we were just getting a little too political during a review for the TV show Succession. And I'm not going to say anything, but it was during the episode of the election being super messed up. And I was just talking about elections in America. And then I just got a text from somebody
that's the thing that they will.
And he's like,
get mad about.
Like, dude, your stream's gone. I'm like, huh? You didn't even say anything. Oh, come on. Yep, they don't like it when you start talking about it. Anyways, I'm trying to keep that as vague as possible.
Yeah. But okay, the other thing that I wanted to just chat briefly about is Arya eating the Boltons. Where are you on that theory, Taco? You buying it?
No.
No.
Eating the Boltons? Can you tell me where this came from? Like, give me the clues, because I've never fucking heard this before.
This was in one of my recent videos.
My bad.
No, you're all good. Very recent, like a week ago. So you may not have seen it.
Yeah, it's all right. I didn't watch. I usually watch all your stuff.
No worries.
No, not the phrase.
There are way too many ASOIAF channels to keep up with all of them.
When I took a break. I took. No, I do that. I took a long break from ASOIAF, and I watch way less of Song of Ice and Fire YouTube than I did before I made videos. So much of it's
very little at this point, but
recycled, not because anyone's recycling their content, but it's like I just have seen so many people talk about so many different things. Where there's only a few people, you included, where it's like, oh, this is going to be original, but especially like lore deep dives. Where it's like, I love him, Deep Geek. He got me into it. Him and a couple other creators have kind of got me to even read them. Because I was a fan of a Song of Ice and Fire YouTube way before I started reading them, and now now I've become the book, right? And now it's part of me now. But before I was like, oh, there's a good character named Patchface Crazy. I was like all the other just show watchers. But at this point, even though I love all those channels, like Indie Geek's video about Bright Roar isn't going to teach me anything. I know everything there's about. I can at this point.
I get what you mean. Yeah.
But he is amazing. I do love. This is Robert. Welcome to Indie Geek. I love that.
He's good. He's really good. So what my theory is, more or less, right? Because did you watch my outline video or not?
Outline video? No,
probably
not.
No. Okay, that was a longer one that came out right before that.
I think your last 2 or 3 I missed.
Yeah,
I'm
so essentially this is no worries. So essentially, I'll blow your mind here, Taco. You know how there was the Arya, Tyrion, Jon love triangle in the original outline?
I hate that it gets brought up. Yes.
You know what? If I told you
thing that was scrapped for a good reason? Yes, I do.
What if I told you George recreated it at the end of A Dance with Dragons?
All right, feed it, pitch. Let's go.
So, the main thing that was supposed to it seems like what the outline was building towards is because it says that Jon and Arya will be tempted by their love for one another.
Sorry, Terra Incognita, literally the same thing. His Robert's Rebellion and the Robert's Rebellion, the Tower of Joy, and all that series literally got me into A Song of Ice and Fire YouTube. 100%, I'm with you. That and probably I watched Alt Shift X first, and then Ravras.
Yeah,
I don't think Ravras does anything anymore, but Ravras as well. Not huge in that. But yeah. Anyways, keep going.
But yeah, so the initial situation is Jon Snow. In the initial outline, Jon Snow is, and also in the outline, Tyrion would have burned down Winterfell, right?
Yeah.
So in the initial outline, Jon Snow was going to be sitting there at the wall, being tempted away from his duties at the Watch by his love for Arya and a love triangle type situation between himself, Arya, and the guy who burned down Winterfell.
Who's Tyrion?
In the actual books, Jon Snow is the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch who is tempted away from his duties at the Wall because of his love for Arya and a love triangle type situation between who he thinks is Arya, himself, and the guy who burned down Winterfell. The point of the love triangle was to get Jon Snow to abandon his vows, to give into this magical power that he was going to be able to take.
Yeah, he did it anyway.
And he did it
a little less
anyway.
Creepy. Yeah, it just made it a tad less creepy. Are you saying
he substituted a fake Arya?
Are you saying that Jon Snow's gonna marry Jane Poole? I'm down.
No, so Melisandre is now the Witch Queen who's going to be there. Arya would have initially in the outline ended up north of the Wall with Bran. And in the first book, Bran describes Nymeria as a Witch Queen. Which is not really correct.
That's not correct at all.
And what Nymeria actually did, what Nymeria actually did was she sailed off to the west to find a new place to live. At the end of the show, Arya sails off to the west for no reason. Yeah. For no reason, which makes me think the only reason they would have ever done that is because George told them that's what Arya's ending was.
No, Michael, you naive summer child. The only reason they did it is because it sounds cool when Maisie Williams says, "What's west of Westeros?" That line sounds cool. That's why they destroyed the books or the show. That line.
No, I think.
I'm sorry. They're shallower than you're giving them credit for.
I disagree.
Yeah, you're right. This might be one of the George pokes. His like 3 or 4 hints.
So if initially Nymeria was a witch queen, but instead she sailed off to the west, and initially Arya was going to end up north of the Wall in the cave where Bran is learning his magic, and then she was going to be at the Wall tempting Jon Snow, I think the initial draft of Arya, she was going to be a witch queen, which is why Melisandre is now the witch queen who is at the Wall tempting Jon Snow to take this magical power and take back Winterfell.
So the love triangle is a 4-sided triangle, one of the elusive 4-sided triangles.
He has recreated all the important elements of the original love triangle without the love triangle actually being there. But Jon Snow's still being tempted away by a witch queen and his love for Arya and this asshole who burned down his home and he wants to take it back and save Arya. All that stuff was initially going to be there.
Yeah, it's
in the show.
Yeah. It's all the same.
In the show, they also recreated it pretty much exactly. They just switched Sansa in for Arya instead of Jane Poole.
Why Roose? Why not Ramsay? Roose didn't burn Winterfell.
Well, right. So he's there, and they're going to destroy the Boltons, I think.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He's just getting caught up in it all.
The Boltons. Yeah, no, you said, what do you feel about Arya and the Boltons? You didn't say Ramsay or Roose. It's just me. Okay, keep going.
So in the show, assuming because the show recreated the situation, the books recreated the situation, the outline had the initial version of the situation. In the show, rather than Jon and Sansa using any sort of magical power that they've gained throughout the story to take back Winterfell, they are using their armies that they've gained throughout the story to take back Winterfell. Yeah. So Jon comes down from the north with his wildlings. Sansa comes up from the south with the army of the Vale. They sandwich the Boltons and kill them all.
Woo.
In the original version, it seems like it was going to be Jon and Arya putting together their powers to take back Winterfell from the Boltons. Well, in the actual books, what's set up right now is that Arya has a way that she can interact with Westeros magically that can substitute in for the army of the Vale. When Jon is coming down to take Winterfell from the Boltons, Nymeria and her wolf pack, who Arya is having wolf dreams of, could meet up with them instead of the army of the Vale. And then it's Jon and Arya sandwiching the Boltons. Jon with his shadow babies, Arya with her wolf pack.
And
guess what?
Bruce, purposely, the only person who we know who fought against her army is Roose.
Yeah. And so they hate Roose.
I hate it.
And also the reason Jenny says that Ramsay was custom built for Arya specifically to defeat him as a warg is because Ramsay Bolton, his character, hunts women through the woods with dogs. He then kills them by flaying them and does other things. And then he names the dogs after the women that he's killing, like putting their essence into the dogs. In this
yep. And then he only refers to them as a derogatory term for women as well.
Imagine if he is then killed by a dog or a wolf that has the essence of a little girl who's traumatized in there getting revenge on him. Like, dude is custom built to be satisfyingly eaten by Nymeria in Arya's dream, and this is how it's going to get back to the original outline of Arya and Jon's magical powers will be the thing that comes back to take Winterfell.
All right,
it's all set up.
I like that, and I hate you, and I'll tell you why. I hate it when you do this thing when you're like, "Hey guys, I think apples are actually oranges," and I'm like, "That's stupid," and you're like, "Let me explain it," and then at the end, I'm like, "Well, that makes sense." I fucking hate that. Like, this is why I still maintain that, like, I started off being super skeptical of everything you say, and now it's like I'm one of your cult leaders.
You're
I'm buying a plot of land
give it
in
a
Texas.
shot.
Yeah. Hey, I got a great place for the fortification whenever we want to move. It wouldn't be Texas, it would be North Dakota. There's no one in North Dakota. I'm from North Dakota. There's no one in North Dakota. Like for the people in your live stream who don't know who I am, we just met through the Interesting Nerd Club Discord, right? Like that's where and then I was like, hey, does anyone want to do a video? And you're like, yeah, I will. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like buying beer before it, because this is back when I used to, like, I'm having a drink right now, but this is when I used to drink on streams a lot. And I was like, oh, I need to grab beer. So I'm like, oh, I need to know who the heck this Michael is. So the only video I watched first was your Nan is actually Nettles is actually friggin' Leaf video. And
the theory is so crazy at the end. I'm like, even though this all makes sense, I'm only 50-50 on it because I can't convince myself.
I was like, this dude? I'm going to have this guy on my channel? Yeah. Like, this is so stupid. And then I finished that whole video. I listened and I'm like, damn it. Makes a little bit of sense. And then I think I told you that day where it's like, now I hate that you convinced me. Is now that's always in my head. Now I can't talk about Leaf without being Leaf or Nan. Like now it's up there. And that's what I hate about you is at first I'm like, no, cult leader, that's dumb. And then a month later I'm like, have you heard the good word? You got me. Yeah. I'm not drunk. This is my first and only truly. I just wanted something to drink that tasted like alcohol. No, Ned is not Nettles.
No.
Bran
you said Nan.
Nan is Nettles. Yeah, I had a comment today. This is so funny. I'm assuming it's somebody who you ushered over the other day. Well, fine, I'm drunk. Halo Cat, you're awesome. But no, I had a comment today where it's like, the dude's like, I really enjoy your stuff, but I just have to ask, and it's like a concern. And he's like, do you have MS? When my brother had that, he started like talking really funny and reading sentences wrong, blah, blah, blah. So, you might want to go check that out. And I'm like, dude, thank you for the concern, but I'm just a really bad reader. It's always been like this. It's that I don't have MS. But no, I'm
It's
blind.
not a new development.
I'm super blind in one eye. It's why I wear glasses. And it wasn't caught until really later in my life. Like I was in like 5th grade and no one really told me how important they were. And I never wore them before. So I was like, oh, I don't need these. And it wasn't really until I was in my 20s until I took my eyesight serious. And then I realized I was so bad at reading because I trained myself when I was blind, and that's why I'm a slow reader. That's why my handwriting is bad. That's why I have bad dexterity, because I've always been blind in one eye. So I like literally was in developmental classes throughout all of high school, and I'm sure you've had enough conversations with me when you're like, no, Taco's smart enough. Like, you know, I'm not stupid, but it was literally just I have no hand-eye coordination, and just they were like, well, I can't read or write. He must be dumb, you know, and yeah, it's like, no, I'm blind, you buttholes. So it's funny when now when I stutter and stammer and everything, people are like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, dude,
you have no idea.
Fine. It's fine. I'm not smart. I just play one on YouTube. Okay. But yeah, no, I thought that was really good.
Yeah.
And I told the guy that he's like, I was actually concerned. I'm like, no, I get it.
Yeah.
Like, thank you.
Thanks for looking out. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, absolutely. Intelligence is measured wrong in school. 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
But okay. So you're somewhat sold that Arya could eat the Boltons now in that.
Yeah, not cannibalism wise, not free pie wise. But thank you.
Yep.
Cindy, not Cindy. Yeah, no, I could. I'm not sold. I'm not buying.
Well, it could sold that it could happen. Yeah,
you fucking.
It's not a ridiculous idea.
Buying shit. I don't think it's ludicrous. No. But you know what the problem with a lot of theories is somebody's like, hey, because of these breadcrumbs, weird, crazy, psycho thing happens. There's not a lot of weird, crazy, psycho things that have happened in the 5 books. Like, and it's hard for me to subscribe to every tiny breadcrumb goes to a red wedding, right? Like,
not every line is the same as don't trust Walder Frey.
Yeah. Thank you. Or mayhaps. Yeah. In fact, the majority of all foreshadowing pre-Storm of Swords, like 60 to 70% of all foreshadowing is all for the Red Wedding. Like, there's more Red Wedding foreshadowing per capita.
In hindsight, it hits you real hard. Yeah.
Oh yeah. The second time,
every time
I've read the book, like ever since the first time I went through it, I was like, how did we know?
Yeah, every time they bring up Walder Frey, they're just like, oh, this guy sucks.
Would really suck if he stabbed Rob. Am I right?
Yeah.
Like, they say it constantly. And then and have you ever done a just straight up Dany's visions at the Tower of the House of the Undying?
I did.
I know you touched it a little.
I did do a video about what I think is going on with the Undying.
Did you break down every one of her visions?
On the Interesting Nerd Club channel I was on with Mira, Zach, and Tom, and we talked through all of them once.
What a lineup.
In a very long video that we recorded late at night and went way longer than we expected. So if at any point by the end it feels like we are kind of rushing along, it was a long recording after we had already recorded an episode before that. So yeah.
I think it's so funny that the House of the Undying chapter is so fucking magical and unhinged and insane, and we all kind of just like move past it. Like, it's crazy as that chapter is. We can talk about old gods until the cows come home, but there's like this much talk on what the hell is going on there. There's not a lot of chat about how absolutely batshit crazy that area is, that whole thing. But I also feel like that's kind of Essos as a whole. Is it's less Dany's stuff is less picked apart compared to other stuff, especially politically. There's way more videos of what's going on in King's Landing than in Marine. But anyway.
But the other thing that I did want to talk about is and the good comment. Yeah, I do have more Night King Jon stuff to talk about. That because like I didn't see it at first. That I think the reason a lot of people don't see it, and the reason I like, if you had asked me 3 or 4 years ago, is Jon gonna become the Night King? I'd be like, no, I love Jon. Jon's not gonna be bad. But like now that I go back through it, all of it in context, it's just so clearly set up that he's going to be doing some Night King shenanigans.
I think Night King symbolism, like
he's
already full of that. Falling in love with
birthing shadow babies at the Night Fort with a Witch Queen, like that's Night King as it's going to get, and I think that'll be.
Do you think he'll be birthing shadow babies at the Night Fort with a Witch Queen?
Yeah, Melisandre, him going to the Night Fort when he's resurrected. Like, what else is he going to do? That's like,
you think she's going to bring him to the Night Fort?
I mean, probably. Like, they've done enough work setting that up, and it's still as of the most recent book. So it's not like he's abandoned it. Like, as of the most recent book, they're like, yep, we're working on the Night Fort. We've got it restored. Stannis is like, hey, Sam, you will show me where this Black Gate is at some point. Like, where is it? Like, it's still there in the most recent book, so I assume they're probably going to the Night Fort at some point, or he would have taken that out of the most recent book. So I think we're still there.
Okay. I mean, I definitely want to see more of the Night Fort. Like, I've got that.
So, like, for me, I've always been like, nah, Jon's not going to be the next Night King. Jon's the good guy. But now I see it as like, oh, this is like him being tempted by this dark magical power. And it's perfectly set up for him to go Night King as Dany goes Fire and Blood, and then both of them come to maybe regret that once they see the damage it does. Like, you know.
And then what? There's one chapter left where it's like, oh, we got a little.
Well, then Bran comes in and he's just like, "What are you guys doing, Jon? You're banished north of the Wall. Arya, get the heck off the continent. Dany's dead. Send her off east. We are getting rid of all this magical shenanigans. Like, this is a bad idea." Like, Bran will be going back in time through his visions, learning how bad this is. Well, all of these other main characters are magically messing up Westeros, and Bran is sitting off in a cave. Spoilers for House of the Dragon. If you don't want House of the Dragon spoilers, mute until I give a thumbs up, and then we're fine again.
Absolutely.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. It is also very much like at the end of the Dance of the Dragons when a Stark has to come down and just pass judgment as all of the magical people have just been fucking up Westeros because they can't agree on anything. They can't get along. They basically, a Stark who has sat out for most of this but knows what's right and wrong comes in, passes judgment on everybody, and fixes things.
He also drug his feet like Clegane's not the hero people give him credit for.
But Bran is also just like chilling off in a cave and probably going to be the same.
Not the hero people give him credit for it yet.
Yeah. So I'm gonna. All right. Well, no more spoilers. No more. And that part of the discussion. No more spoilers on that.
Throw the thumbs up.
All right. Muted people, you're good. You can come back. No more.
Stand the Shadow murders Daemon or Aemon One Eye. What the? No, I'm kidding. You know what the funny thing is? If I could make that show, I would end it where Fire and Blood ends and totally do the Lyseni Spring, which I know is like 2 more chapters and they would never go that far in. But I find it after the dance more entertaining than the dance at this point. But anyways, I don't know.
Yeah.
That was
but okay, yeah. The other main thing though, that I did want to talk about, because I covered this like way.
That's amazing. Snack Butt. You're welcome, Snack Butt. Fantastic name.
Yeah. The other thing that I do want to talk about, though.
You warning.
This is something that I've talked about way long time ago, but I didn't do the best job, I think, presenting this theory. Like, I knew this is one of the ones where I'm like, I covered this well enough. I know I could do a better version of it, but also the video is supposed to come out tomorrow, and this is when I was in my like video a week thing.
I love when you were a video a week. I know that you like.
Yeah.
I know, and I also love that your whatever you want to call them, your Night's King videos are like fucking amazing. Like so I like both. But there was something really cool about Saturday mornings. I got to watch my video, just like what you're saying, where you make sure there's no mess ups. And then right after I watch yours, and then we'd usually message each other. I love putting up videos at the same time. And also Tom and Zach did a video.
Yeah.
Saturday morning. Saturday morning.
For a minute there, we had Saturday morning lineup, basically.
Yeah, it was good.
But so a video I put out a long time ago about how Arya may be the one to kill Robert Strong in a magical way that is very similar to how she might eat the Boltons. So
you won't drop that, will you?
There's straight up not that many ways that Robert Strong could be kept alive, right? And one of the ways, if you listen to the drafts, is he could be tied to a glass candle. Supposedly, when you tie someone to a glass candle, they cannot die so long as the flame lasts. And I've always thought, like, okay, if there's glass candles anywhere in Westeros, you got like the Citadel, Dragonstone, and the Red Keep, because the Targs would have brought magical artifacts over from Valyria. Like, we know they have dragon skulls that are 1,000 years old, so they brought things with them from Valyria. They didn't come empty-handed.
I'm not against Sunspear either. I'm not against Dora Martell. At least,
they could be elsewhere.
Maybe not using one, but having one.
They could be many places, but like the Red Keep is one of the places they would be if there are glass candles we don't know about.
I one day want
makes a lot of sense.
You can get back to what you're saying. I just want to say one day I really want you and me collectively, either in a live stream or on our own devices, to just look at what the hell is going on in the Red Keep, because even Nan says that the stairs go all the way into hell.
Yeah,
all right. Like, there's a lot of weird red.
Arya thinks. Here's the thing, Taco. Here's the thing about that.
Demons. Yeah, keep going.
Arya looks at this well with spiraling stairs down it, and she thinks this reminds her of the stairs to hell old Nan told her about. But it's the Black Gate. The Black Gate is what old Nan's talking about with the stairs to hell.
Yeah,
the fact that old Nan told a story about the Black Gate and it kind of slips by because everyone's like, what? The stairs to hell are this well that is in King's Landing, or this well in King's Landing looks like the stairs to hell. And then we don't know about the Black Gate for 2 more books. But it matches exactly.
There's something I was fiddling with. So this isn't a Michael talks about very well put together video. What Blake spirits up, yo? Yeah, why does old Nan know that? So I had an idea.
He knows everything.
That you've heard the Jaqen H'ghar is the Faceless Man. That's why he's not following any of the I don't know if you've heard this, but he doesn't really follow black and white, and he kind of does whatever the hell he wants to do. And he's
like a rogue, rogue.
Yeah, but he is actually the god of death. Where did he come from? The black cells, he comes from underneath.
Yeah.
No one knows why he's there. And I really and I don't buy it. I'm okay with selling some tinfoil. I'm not eating it anytime soon. But I do kind of like the idea that it is an actual pit to hell. And because it's metal as fuck. It's not real, but in that Jaqen came from there to do the devil's bidding. The cool thing about the Faceless God is, and there's a misconception where people think that he's just all these different gods. He's specifically death gods, all these different death gods. The god that you pray to, the stranger, the god you pray to while you're dying, right? In that list is the old gods. I'm just throwing that out there. The old gods, according to ASOIAF at least, are death gods, by the way. Just that out there.
Makes sense. They like blood sacrifice, so yeah.
Okay, right, it makes sense because they're demon trees. But old man is Dario is what I'm trying to get at. I was getting there. But no, I do like the idea that he is literally the death, and he's doing crazy ass shit. He's over getting a key, and he's just murdering Pate, and then just on the fly stealing his face.
Something that I just thought of now too is in the original draft, the Faceless Man is trying to steal a glass candle from the Citadel.
Yeah.
And
That's awesome.
what if he was in the black cells looking for the one that they have there? Like, what if that was why he was there? Is like, oh, he's been looking for a glass candle this entire time. He maybe didn't find the one they had in the Red Keep, and then he went to the Citadel. Maybe that, I mean, that's just something I'm thinking out loud.
Yeah, that ain't bad either.
But also, so this theory got some added potential evidence, or might get some added potential evidence in the next season of House of the Dragon, because supposedly in an interview he mentioned like Helena having some magical artifact that they haven't gotten to see yet in the series, and that being a glass candle tracks with Helena's shenanigans pretty well. So if we see her using a glass candle in the next season, that would kind of on a level, as much as House of the Dragon is confirmation of lore, that it confirms at least that it makes sense for there to be a glass candle there. But so my theory, right, is that the Mountain is only alive because he's attached to a glass candle. That fits with the show, him being basically impossible to kill until his body's like entirely destroyed. So if he's tied to a glass candle and you need to put that candle out, and that candle is deep down below the depths of the Red Keep somewhere hidden safely, right? Well, who has in-depth knowledge of the tunnels of the Red Keep, because she spent all the time chasing cats down there? Arya.
Until you said that second part, I almost said Varys. Like, I would just
Varys too. But Arya,
clearly,
Arya was warging a cat when she went blind. So
yeah,
Arya can do a distance kill on the Mountain if she wargs into Balerion, the old black cat that is probably Rhaenys' cat, who hates the Mountain and hates Tywin, and get some cosmic justice by knocking all Qyburn's shit off of his desk in cat form and messing up the glass candle connection by knocking it over as a cat. And Gregor just drops dead on the spot at a very important moment because Arya killed him with a glass candle kill.
You think?
I think Arya might warg Nymeria and knock all of Qyburn's shit off of his desk.
Nymeria? You mean
Balerion.
Balerion the black cat. Yeah.
Balerion the kitty. Yeah, he's gonna rub up against that glass candle.
Balerion the tomcat. Okay, for knocking over the glass candle. Okay, like accidentally. I also want that. I don't want that to be
either accidentally or Arya on purpose.
If it was just like if it wasn't on purpose,
it would be funny. It would be very funny.
Oh my god.
But here's the other thing about that is if she does that while he is fighting the Hound, because I think people who hate Clegane Bowl because of the way the show handled it or because it became a meme are incorrect. It is set up on some level that they could meet again. Like, it's not set up. I'm not saying it has to happen.
Can I tell you why I hate Clegane Bowl?
Tell me why you hate Clegane Bowl.
Because Sandor's story is perfect now. That bringing him back ruins his arc. That's it. And I'm not against it. Besides the fact, can we have one character have a fucking happy ending? Just like he's condoning for his sins, living in peace.
Yeah.
He's like forgiving his brother.
Could you live in peace if your evil older brother who tormented you was an immortal, unkillable beast and you thought you might be the only one who was able to take him out? Could you live in peace?
Can Taco? No. But can a person who's figuring it out, like somebody who's taking a vow of silence in a religious doctrine, who's literally just trying to let go of all that anger, all that violence, his brother burning his face ruined his entire life.
Yeah, so he should want to kill that guy.
Forgiveness is better than vengeance. I'm sorry, but have you heard
could be a mercy kill. It could be a mercy kill with the way
all right. I don't mind mercy kill, but
in any way, I don't care about the context, and I wouldn't be upset if Clegane Bowl doesn't happen. But I do think it is unreasonable to say that it's not set up. He kept both of them alive.
It's absolutely set up. That's unreasonable. But
pick your favorite context, right? Pick your favorite context for when they could be fighting.
I just don't want it. I'm not saying it's not unreasonable, and I'm definitely not saying that it's not brought up. I think it's just but it's George. He's gonna find a way to do it in a he's gonna write it well. But like, dude, Sandor is one of my absolute top characters because of the Gravedigger. Because of the if the Gravedigger arc's not real, I'm over it. Like, that sucks. That sucks that he died alone. But if he's the big silent Gravedigger, he's probably got my favorite full arc. Like, he's probably got one of the only full arcs in the entire story.
That's fair.
So it sucks that he just comes back, and the way that you brought it up is one thing, but like, him coming back to have like a duel of the fates is about as lame as it fucking
it's not gonna be handled the way the show handled it. But assuming they would ever fight, right? Here's just another bit of foreshadowing. Where was Arya the first time Sandor fought his brother? Where was Arya during the first Clegane Bowl?
She was watching it.
No, Sansa was watching. Arya was running around the bowels of the Red Keep chasing cats.
Is that really?
Yeah, look it up. Yep. Arya missed that tourney, and when was not there during Clegane Bowl, Arya was under the Red Keep chasing cats. So if Arya is in the Red Keep warged into a cat, the next Clegane Bowl happens. Not at that part. She was at her dancing lessons, and Sansa makes fun of her for being all bruised afterwards and says, "You must be really bad at dancing."
Dancers. Yeah. Son of a bitch.
Yep. So Arya during Clegane Bowl 1 was down in the Red Keep chasing Valyria and the cat. Arya during Clegane Bowl 2 will be down in the Red Keep in Valyria and the cat, killing the mountain and helping Sandor not die. Then he can retire in peace. That's why. That's also why. Why did Arya travel with the Hound to Clegane Bowl and then do nothing? She was supposed to be at the Red Keep during Clegane Bowl, and they're just like, well, she's here. And then they had it be like an arc about her abandoning her quest for revenge after riding for months rather than before. Like, they finally have this conversation 5 minutes before the fight rather than like the entire 3-month journey.
You don't need to pitch to me that that the ending of the show got awful.
So
like, I never talk about it because I don't like saying negative shit. But yeah, there isn't a lot of positivity in that last couple seasons for me.
So I do want to just, bring up that theory that I had before, because I'm talking Arya theories here. That was kind of the rough before Taco mentioned he was going to join. My rough plan was to talk about my recent theories, the video game.
Yeah,
George hype convention. No, you're good. This is way better, probably. I'm sure this is more entertaining. And then I was going to talk about some Arya theories because of the recent like Witch Queen shenanigans and her eating the Boltons. I figured I'd bring up also she could warg into a cat and maybe kill the mountain. I do think that would be, in hindsight, like a fully connected whole little thing with how the first Clegane Bowl went down. But again, I'm not like, Clegane Bowl is not one where I would be mad if it doesn't happen, but it's also not one that I would be mad if it does happen. And some people would seem to be mad if it does happen.
About 10 years ago, maybe here, let's find out. I can actually here, like, I'll tell you how long. Sorry, this is connected to Clegane Bowl. About 10 years ago, when Alt Shift X made it Will the Hound Return Gravedigger video, it brings in Clegane Bowl. And it was the first time I ever heard this, right? Because I didn't do the Reddit back then. Now I do for my channel. But like, I had never heard Clegane Bowl, and then just like techno or dubstep comes in.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh yeah, so it's usually paired with dubstep, and the dubstep comes in. The first time I listened to that, I was alone in my bed trying to go to sleep, and I was listening to Alt Shift X for obvious reasons. Like, I don't know how you go to bed.
One of the goats, if not the goat. The OG goat for sure.
OG, yeah. Maybe not the greatest, but yeah, he's like, he might not be the greatest of all time, but he's like the Babe. He's like, he's Babe Ruth.
even still, like even when he streams with Glidus, like of the people who talk theories, I think he's got his head around. Like I like a lot of Alt Shift X takes.
Alt Swift X? That's the other guy.
Yeah, no,
I'm talking about.
You're right. I completely mixed the two up. Yeah, no, I retract everything nice I said about Alt Shift X. I meant Alt Swift X.
Yeah, Swift.
He's the one who's got a lot of like he's when he gives insights on theories. I very often I'm like, yep, he's got it figured out more than most. Like,
yeah,
I agree with his takes.
Him and Glidus are like, all the other creators,
the GOAT duo.
All the other creators are just hanging out in their house. like I'm sorry, but this is where Glidus and Swift live, and Shift is also around in the attic. But anyways, the first time I listened to it, it was at night, and I got so freaked out by the random eerie dubstep out of nowhere that like I associate like scary out of nowhere dubstep to whatever somebody's like Clegane Bowl. I'm like, ugh. Like I get freaked out by like wah wah wah. I'm like, oh, out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Like
no.
RKO,
Oh yeah. So we can't forget Glimbus. Obviously.
Glimbus. Yeah, Glimbus is great too. I like Glimbus more than I like Glidus.
Yeah. But so yeah, those are the main things that I was trying to talk about.
I got a topic to toss at you that I think would whet your palate, if you will.
Yeah, go for it.
Let's talk about I didn't do that on purpose, it just jumped out. Different places that could be old, ancient, or modern places that children of the forest lived. So Hollow Hill, possibly the Whispers, Hornhill. No, not Hornhill.
High Heart.
High Heart. Of course, Bloodraven's Cave. Now
Storm's End, I think, probably had.
I would need to be.
They have magical wards in the wall. Those came from somewhere. I think
wards.
Bran the Builder may have. If Bran the Builder helped build Storm's End, I think all he did was tell him where to build it. Hey, build this on a tree town. You'll have magical protection if you build on this particular spot. And then all of a sudden the storms couldn't knock it down anymore. I think that could be what he did. Yeah, there's a lot of places that I think could be old tree towns.
So what you were bringing up earlier was Shady Stone, and it is during the Queenmaker chapter, not the Winds of Winter Temple chapter. And I did go back and while we were talking about that an hour ago, I went back and I read the paragraph about it because there's the tree towns that the Lady of the Leaves is in is very weird. Like there's only one paragraph about the Lady of the Leaves. Sorry, that's just I just ADHD'd into because I saw the Rainwood. But when they're looking for Barrack, they go see the Lady of the Leaves, and she's just living in an like a Ewok village. Like that's some weird, like maybe Children of the Forest, but I don't know. They're normally, it seems like Children of the Forest like to live underground in hobbit holes more than anything. But anyway, so this layout. I'm now reading the wiki, but I did read a lot of this to get the better context. But a modest ruins that had fluted pillars, triple arches, a dry well. That's for you. It contains mosaics. That is the only thing I ever heard mosaics. So, like, what culture was this? I don't think this was Old Town or Old Gods. It was in Dorne. Is this Roynish? I don't think it would be Roynish either. Like, I would think that this is old Andal Knights or old Dornish old men. Old first men. But yeah. Overtaken by the sands is what Sadie.
This is the stone pillars or whatever of.
Yep. So Shady Stones, a modest ruin, fluted pillar, triple arches, mosaics, and then just like how the Whispers was taken over by the forest, this has been taken over by the sands with its faces of the statues scoured away and with dead trees all around it too. So yeah, this is where Arya is looking at it, and yeah, sorry, keep going.
Okay. Yeah, I hadn't, like I said, I haven't looked back at the Arion chapters in a while. So this is like my just
They're
off the
good.
top of my head thing of like the explanation I've kind of thought of for the stone pillars with faces carved into them is I think they were other old gods. Like I think they might even be a remnant. They're either petrified old weirwoods or it's a remnant from a different old gods culture because they were the nameless gods of the forests and the rivers and the stones and like Starks are often referred to
there
as
were
stony.
first men in Dorne. Like, you know,
Yeah,
like, they,
so, like-
yeah.
Right. It could be a situation where there was a culture in Dorne that worshipped rocks and carved faces into rock pillars, and that would be an old god in the same way a tree could be, potentially. Like, I kind of think there might be something to the old gods where whatever you venerate and worship becomes more powerful, right? Like, if you put all your...
But you can sacrifice just because you carve a face, and it doesn't mean that you can sacrifice to it and get old godsy magic, right? Like it's
probably
still
not, but
be
you know,
a weirwood tree. As far as we've decided that weirwood trees is where the power comes, not from the faces, because
it's certainly that way now. But like, if there was a whole culture that had been worshiping these stone pillars for 100 or 200 years and feeding them blood, would they start doing something magical at some point? I don't know. You know, that's kind of where my head is at, is like, it could be like a remnant of like a non-Weirwood old gods culture, but that's just like spitballing off the top of my head.
I mean, I'm not against it. I don't have an answer. I just think it's really weird that this is the only time we ever hear about mosaics, like that specific type of art, which was very Roman and Greek. And we just so much of the real world cultures that sneak in, like the closest we get to a Rome is like Valyria, and that's just because it was a big gone culture that took over everything and used slavery and then died. Like that's kind of it. Like, so this is like the first time where we actually see almost like art that makes us think of, you know, like that era. Like what word am I looking for? Not in antiquity, but Roman age. I can't even think anymore. But like, you know, back in the like pre-Middle Ages is where we usually put Game of Thrones and Middle Ages, and then the fall of Rome would be the fall of Valyria, which is about 400 ish years before the Middle Ages really kick off, you know, so on and so forth. So like it's like it was literally it's me going down a history rabbit hole in my brain because there's mosaics, literally, like that. That's the only, because it's like we never see that anywhere, like this specific type of building, and it's a ruin, which is even cooler. It's like, what fucking culture was this? You know?
Yeah. And I do think like the stone pillars are somewhat reminiscent of Bloodraven's cave. Like it all strikes me as something that could be like related to the old gods, but maybe in a different form. That's just kind of the version or the theory that I've got as my like best working theory. But as I said, I haven't looked back into it super recently. But someone asked if we could start over, and on one level you're in luck, and on one level you're not, because I am going to probably have to wrap up somewhat soon.
I was about to say, dude, it's the 4th
reaching
tomorrow.
my end.
I have 2 parades. I'm bringing a baby and a toddler.
It is,
well, a kid too.
It is America's birthday, which we're getting ready to celebrate here. So got the America hat as well.
I'm wearing a Goldberg Eats Corn the Long Way shirt. I'm not even close, man.
Getting ready for 4th of July in Cowboy Town, and we'll end the stream with a little reveal here of my second channel. As I mentioned down there in the comments, we'll have some content coming out tomorrow, and it will look a little something like this. A little album cover for you guys to enjoy. If you have ever wanted to see some of my writing in lyric form, you can check out Cowboy Town, the channel in the description tomorrow. But let me know what you think of that when that comes out. But and also Tell everyone you know who likes unhinged country music to subscribe to Cowboy Town, listen to Cowboy Town. I cannot tell you how hilarious it would be if this album charts. Like, if enough of you buy this album that this makes the country charts, it would be the single funniest thing that this little community I've built here could possibly accomplish.
Funny, because that means that some people think it's real, like not a goofy. It's people take it serial.
Yeah, it would be very funny if my goofy ass songs made it on the country charts. They're all unhinged. It is all frontier music.
Man.
It should transport you back to make you feel like you are living on the frontier during the Gold Rush era. So that's Cowboy Town. As I said, coming soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, Moon Man, nice to see you. Unfortunately, we are pretty much wrapping up here.
Dude,
I'm ready all for joining me.
Pass right out. Hey, can I give these guys a nice plug for my channel in case they don't know?
Yeah, go for it.
There's a lot of people here. Yeah, I got something to talk about. Is the name of my channel. I was smart and switched the name. I do long form. If you guys don't know who I am, I do one big long ranting take where I normally do a lot of verbal typos, just like that. And talking about not only very small characters from A Song of Ice and Fire that didn't make it. Oh, thank you. Didn't make it to the show. So I've covered over 100 as of right now. Thanks, Moon Man. Then I started doing Let's Talk About the Differences, where I cover characters from who do make it onto the show, and I talk about their differences. No POV characters, no big characters. I think my best one's Mord. That video was way better than it had any credit being. And now I'm covering locations, and the first one was The Whispers. And if you guys all enjoyed Michael's video, you're welcome, because I told him to do that. I'm why that video
requested.
Yeah,
he requested my Whispers video. I had it on my to-do list. I was like, at some point, I'll look back at the Whispers.
And then I was like,
Taco wanted me to do it.
It'd be really cool if you did it the same time I did mine.
And it turns out it was. The video's doing really well, so it worked out. So
yeah, mine is too. So yeah, please come check it out. And I put out a lot of videos. I try to do 2 a week. So yeah,
look,
there we go. That's all I got. Anything else?
Since aliens were brought up, I will say there may or may not be a song on my album about a cowboy who gets abducted by an alien. Just may or may not happen. Don't worry about it.
I thought the Ancient Aliens reference was because my hair is crazy.
No, maybe that too. But anyway. Thank you all very much for watching. Go check out Taco. Go check out my second channel down in the description. And hit the like button so that more people see this unhinged shenanigans. Thank you all very much, and we'll be back with something else very soon.
Peace.